Hello everyone, this is Colleen Lemma, Starseed Astrologer and Spiritual Messenger from SacredSoulEmpowerment.com. Here to do your weekly angel card reading for Monday, April 23rd through Sunday, April 29th, 2018. For this week's weekly reading, we'll be using the Archangel Power Tarot deck by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine for the main message. And for your special message card this week based on your stone of choice, we'll be taking that card from the Syrian Starseed Tarot by Patricia Corey and Alyssa Bartha. So let's start by looking at your stones of choice for this week's weekly reading. Your first stone of choice is rose quartz. And this is a beautiful soft pink rose quartz. All rose quartz are obviously rose or pink colored, but some of them are a little bit more opaque, like this one, a little bit lighter in color. And this just has the feeling of a very soft energy. Rose quartz in general is about unconditional love and compassion and peace. It's about self-love as well as unconditional love for other people. And it just has that, again, soft, kind of nurturing, healing kind of energy, especially for the heart chakra. So if this is an energy that you're needing this week, as we'll discuss, this week can have some very powerful and intense energies. If you need that kind of soft, nurturing, divine feminine energy, then this might be your stone of choice for the week. Your second stone of choice is blue kyanite. I haven't had this out in a while. And blue kyanite, obviously, is that nice light blue color that relates to the throat chakra, which is all about clear speech and clear communication, concise communication, but speaking your truth and speaking it, though, from a place of your higher self. The other thing about the kyanite, now kyanite comes in black and green as well as the blue, but all kyanite is really good at dispelling negative energy, lower vibrational energy. It clears it away and it transmutes it naturally and automatically. Not all stones do that, but this is one of those rare stones that does do that. It clears, again, away any negative lower vibrational energies, whether they're coming from your own emotional nature or mental nature or from situations and circumstances outside of you. And again, it doesn't hold on to that energy, but instead transmutes it to a higher vibration. And then your last stone of choice is labradorite, one of my favorites. And I don't know if you can get the full effect of this one here today with the lighting that I have, but labradorite is a gray stone, but within that gray stone, which is a very earthy kind of color, it reminds me of like the dirt or the clay of the earth. But oftentimes labradorite will have this shimmering green or shimmering kind of iridescent blue color within it. And this is actually a stone of extraterrestrial nature. So it helps you to not only connect and ground your energies because of that earthy color, but it also helps you to connect to the stars, to other realms, to your brothers and sisters of the light, other planetary energies. So it's almost that, again, that as above and so below kind of energy of being able to connect outside towards universe as well as ground us here in this third dimensional earth plane. This is also a stone of the mind. It's, almost more of an intellectual stone. So if you need that kind of more logical kind of experience or mind energy for the week, this might be your stone of choice. So again, your choices are the soft, nurturing rose quartz, the clearing and communicative blue kyanite, or the kind of mental grounding but yet universal energy of the labradorite. All right, so let's talk about the astrology for the week. There's actually a full moon this week, and that full moon is in Scorpio, very intense energy. And full moons are always intense energy, but now we have the full moon in Scorpio, which makes it even more intense. Now, getting ahead of myself because the full moon doesn't actually happen until Sunday. So let's back up towards the beginning of the week, and we're going to start with Tuesday, the 24th of April, with Venus, the planet of love, relationships, finances, personal resources, and it's moving out of one of its home signs, which is Taurus, and moving into Gemini. Now Venus is going to be in Gemini from the 24th of April until the 19th of May. Not quite a full month, but still several weeks in this sign. Now because Venus rules, for starters, relationships, Venus in Gemini can be a little bit fickle, it can be a little bit indecisive, and it wants to be more social and kind of flirtatious and non-committal. Gemini is a very kind of non-committal kind of sign. And within the realm of money or business or finances, since Venus also rules that realm, this could actually mean that your income is coming from more than one source, because Gemini, again, is that sign of duality. It's the sign of the twins, and so it speaks of more than one energy. So with Venus in Gemini, again, your income, you might find more than one source of income, or that there's several opportunities coming in for income. This can work the other way, too, to where things that you're paying out or things that you're putting money or your finances towards, there may be more than one thing. So it might be going out, it might be coming in. But again, still there's this aspect of variation or opportunities or many things happening within the realm of what Venus rules. So Venus is that divine feminine energy, but again, ruling our associations with other people and our personal resources. Look for a lot of things happening, a lot of opportunities, maybe some ups and downs, and also look at a variety of experience there. On Wednesday, the 25th of April, Mercury, which rules our thoughts, our ideas, and the way we communicate, is in a challenging aspect to Saturn. Now, Saturn rules restriction, limitation, and delays, but Saturn also is the great teacher about teaching lessons to us. It's also about restructuring. It's also about being grounded. It's also about manifestation. So Saturn has many things that it kind of rules over. Now with Mercury in Aries, Mercury being that communication planet, and in the sign of Aries, which is a fire sign and very bold and independent, that by itself is kind of strong communications. You know, Mercury in Aries can be the strong, very what do I want to say, bold, courageous, confident kind of communication. But again, when it challenges Saturn, and Saturn has that kind of limiting, restricting effect, we might be biting our tongue, so to speak. We might be holding onto our words and not speaking our truth, or we might feel insecure about speaking our truth, as Saturn also rules insecurity. We might not know what to communicate or how to communicate. So again, we're kind of holding back a little bit. We're struggling with maybe finding the right words to express ourselves. This can also be in the realm of ideas and our thoughts too, that we're feeling insecure in our own thoughts, you know, in our mental body. We're feeling, Saturn often has an inferiority thing going on. So there might be, again, this self-talk that's more challenging towards ourselves, to where we're maybe being judgmental or negative, or frustrated with ourselves and having that negative self-talk. So try not to go there with that. Also with the ideas, usually Mercury in Aries is bold and courageous and has, great ideas that it really initiates and puts forth. But with Saturn there, it might kind of limit that for a little bit of time. Now, this transit, isn't going to last long. We might be feeling this Tuesday as it's building up, and of course Wednesday when it happens. As we move later in the week, that should start to dissipate. The Mercury moves so fast that it's not going to be there for very long. So just, make sure that you realize as we're in the beginning part of the week that there might be a little bit of that we're experiencing, that feeling of restriction or limitation or insecurity with our words and our thoughts. Now this is interesting. The rest of the week it gets more intense because we're building up towards that full moon in Scorpio. On Thursday the 26th, Mars is connecting with Pluto at the same degree in Capricorn. This is particularly interesting because what's the planet that rules Scorpio? Well, the modern day planet that rules Scorpio is Pluto. Scorpio is that very intense energy, and Pluto is that planet of power and control and and big transformation and change. And Pluto rules Scorpio in astrology. But the ancient ruler of astrology, before we actually discovered Pluto, as Pluto was only discovered in 1930, before 1930, Mars was the ruler of Scorpio, because Mars is that god of war. He's the warrior energy. He puts energy out, hits forward movement. And it's more of an assertion or an aggressive energy with Mars. So here we have the modern and the ancient ruler of Scorpio, right before the Scorpio full moon on Sunday, coming together. And again, this is on Thursday the 26th when they come together. Again, with this intensity, we're going to feel this, a couple of days at least previous to Thursday with Mars connecting Pluto. So this is going to initiate or trigger big transformation and change, big things happening, changing, redirecting, transformation, death and rebirth. Not to say these things in a scary way, because this can be very positive, bringing transformation into our lives, leaving the old behind so that something new can be reborn. That's that death and rebirth kind of process. This can also, though, initiate explosive behaviors with people, because again, Pluto is sort of like a volcano. That's how I feel about Pluto. It's like, that volcano before it kind of erupts. And Mars is the trigger. Mars is, again, energy and action, the planet of energy and action. And it's going to trigger maybe power and control issues with people. It's going to trigger big changes, whether it's within us or outside of us. And so it could potentially trigger situations and circumstances to where there's explosive kinds of energy dynamics going on. This is also, I feel like, about, again, transition kind of comes to mind. A lot of times with Mars and Pluto coming together, there can be, whether being literal or metaphorically, a lot of transition that's happening in people's lives. Okay, so let's move on to the rest of the week. The next big thing that happens is actually Sunday when we get to the full moon. But I want to stop for a minute and go through Friday and Saturday with the moon, because this is part of that building up of energy towards the full moon on Sunday. Friday and Saturday, the moon is in Libra, which is normally a very balanced, sign. It likes to be in a state of balance, Libra does. Libra is, of course, about relationships. The moon is about our feelings and emotions. However, with the moon in Libra, that sign of relationships, it's going to be making a lot of challenging aspects over the weekend through Friday and Saturday before the full moon. So I just feel like that's a buildup of energy that's happening. The moon is going to challenge Saturn, so it's going to restrict our feelings or ability to maybe operate within some relationships in our lives. Or again, there might be some emotional insecurity that's occurring and happening. It's going to then oppose Mercury, so there's something here in regards to communication with other people that's happening, and that could be good or it could be challenging with that opposition. And then the moon is going to challenge, or square is the aspect that we call it. It's going to square Pluto and Mars, which just on Thursday, early Thursday, so basically Wednesday and Thursday, it came together, Pluto and Mars. So the moon is going to challenge those two planets. So that to me is telling me that there's going to be some sort of situations within relationships in our lives that may be filled with a lot of transformation and change, and it may be a little challenging. Now the moon ends by opposing Uranus, and Uranus is, of course, the planet that brings sudden and unexpected energies or situations or circumstances. It's that surprising rebel energy with Uranus. So again, relationships. Now this could be needed change and transformation that relationships need to go through. And when I say relationships, it could be family, friend, work relationships, as well as romantic relationships. But there's going to be a lot of emotional, deep feelings being stirred, a lot of emotional transformation, a lot of potential communication with other people in our lives if we can do that to hopefully resolve something. But again, there might be some reactive qualities and energies as well because of the Uranus, as well as the Mars and Pluto all being in the mix. The other interesting thing about the moon in Libra opposing Uranus, which is in the sign of Aries, is that Uranus is in the last degree of Aries, and that began actually on April 27th, when Uranus entered the last degree, or the 29th degree of Aries, the last sign of the last degree of that sign before moving into the sign of Taurus. So Uranus is going to be moving into Taurus here pretty soon, within some days. And while it's in the last degree, the 29th degree of Aries, it kind of again intensifies and heightens the energy of what Uranus and Aries is all about. So that rebellion energy, that sudden and unexpected quality, the surprising energy of Uranus, the electrical energy of Uranus is all going to be heightened here this week and going into next week. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the cards and see what the message from our angels and guides is. Now, when I pulled the first card, 2 cards actually came out, so we're going to look at that first one. And we have the 3 of Michael, which is actually the 3 of Swords in the traditional tarot deck. Now, the number 3 is about expansion, things expanding or growing or being made bigger. And the suit of Michael is, as I said, the suit of Swords, which is the mind, the intellect. Now, the message at the bottom says, release the past. You will grow from this situation, and time heals all wounds. The 3 of Swords is normally a little challenging, and the first thing that I feel when I look at this is that we need to pay attention to our belief systems. You know, our belief systems are part of the mental realm, part of that mind realm within this suit of Michael, Swords. And so, you know, here it is, we need to kind of grow through, expand our perceptions, look at things from a different vantage point. We need to just really check where our belief systems are. Are we looking at things in a negative or a positive perspective? Are we looking at glass half empty or glass half full in regards to situations and circumstances? Again, it's time to release the past and let it go. And, you know, again, as we're building up to a full moon in Scorpio, this is probably one of the most powerful moons to be able to go through that death and rebirth process, that transitional, transformational process. And let's go ahead and look at the next card, you know, before I say any more. You know, we're going to talk about wounds a little bit here. But let's go ahead and just turn this card over and see how that merges with the first card. So we have another Michael card, another Swords card, another card of the mental realm. And this is the Knight of Michael. The words at the top say strong, committed, intellectual, and diligent, okay? And, you know, with a knight, all the knights it's a younger energy. It's more mature than the page, but it's not as mature as the queen and the king. You know, the knight is more of that young knight on his horse, on his stallion, you know, ready to gallop away. And you can see that in this card, the horse is galloping forward. So it's a faster paced energy. And again, this is of the mind, of our thoughts, of our communications. So we might be more triggered to respond without thinking something through. The message at the bottom says, time to move quickly. Choose logic over emotions. Sudden changes. So the thing that stands out to me is where it says choose logic over emotion. So far we have 2 Michael cards, 2 cards of the mental realm, which is the logical ego mind. Now this is interesting to me because the Scorpio full moon that's coming up at the end of the week, Scorpio is a water sign, which is all about the emotions, the feelings, how we sense things energetically. And, you know, this is why I think it says to choose logic over emotions, because we might be over emotional this week. Our emotional buttons might be triggered. And as we as human beings have our emotional buttons triggered, we tend to respond without thinking. I feel this is why we have 2 Michael cards here telling us to really pay attention to how we think, how we believe, what our beliefs are, how we communicate with other people, and again, to choose logic over the emotions right now, or at least take time before you respond to kind of process through some of those emotions before you speak. Let's take a look at the next card for the week. Okay, we have a major arcana, not surprised since we have a full moon in Scorpio this week, and this is Major Arcana 15. In this deck, it's called Decision with Archangel Jophiel. Now, interesting, Archangel Jophiel is the Archangel of Beauty. She is the Archangel that assists us in finding the beauty of life all around us. Okay, that's one of her roles. But the interesting thing is that Major Arcana 15 in the traditional tarot deck is actually the Devil card. And the Devil card is just dealing with our ego. It's dealing with the shadow side of our personality. And with the shadow side or the ego, we often get caught in doubts or fears or anxieties. Now, the message at the bottom of this card says, release yourself. So now we have two cards that talk about releasing. Release yourself from that which holds you back. A need to detox unnecessary worry based on a lack of self-confidence. So here again, we have this feeling of insecurity or inferiority or these fears that are coming up. The thing to remember with the Devil card is that it's all an illusion. Our fears are an illusion because there's only really two emotions, and that is love and fear. All the negative emotions fall under fear, and all the positive ones fall under love. So here we are dealing with this fear, which is why it says that we need to detox. We need to detox, not necessarily physically, although that might be a manifestation of detoxing the fears, but we're here to detox on a mental kind of / emotional level, all of the fears, doubts, and anxieties that we might be feeling or going through. Okay, Scorpio, as we, again, near that Scorpio full moon, Scorpio rules in astrology the subconscious, what lies hidden underneath the surface. And so therefore, our hidden fears, are ruled by Scorpio. Our subconscious patterns are ruled by Scorpio. So this is part of that energy for the week. Okay, let's look at the last card. And the last card is another Michael card. So again, we have a lot of the mental realm here going on. Queen of Michael. So we have two court cards, Queen and the Knight, that showed up this week. Sometimes when we have a lot of court cards, as they're called, we're dealing with a lot of people in our lives. So there might be some interactions going on with other people this week. The Queen of Michael says brilliant, self-reliant, insightful, and humorous. And at the bottom it says, you know exactly what to do. The benefit of experience, a time for career rather than relationships. So, what I'm getting from this, because we have that moon in Libra on Friday and Saturday, and I said we're going to be dealing with some relationship things. First of all, I feel like, one, again, we need to be more in our positive mind. There's the what's called the ego mind, but there's also a positive mental body that we have. We have I guess you can call it the negative mental body and the positive mental body. The positive mental body is when we're more connected with our higher self and we're more connected to our place of confidence, balance, our divine truth. And that's what the Queen is all about. Look how she's sitting on her throne. She's very confident, she's very peaceful, she's very serene, she's got it together. Unlike the Knight earlier in the deck that we got, that's kind of galloping away frantically. So here we're needing to kind of end the week with like some balance, some maybe self-contemplation, to really, again, be in our intellect in a higher soul self way rather than an ego mind way. And this is also suggesting that we know what needs to be done, logically speaking, okay, not emotionally, but logically speaking, we know what needs to be done, what needs to be taken care of, what steps we need to move forward on, what communications we have to have and how, etc. So if you can just be in your higher self, this is how the week can end if we can release the prior of all of these kind of fears and doubts and anxieties, is we can reach this point of the Queen that is very self-reliant, self-confident, and in her space of balance. All right, this can also, they're saying, be someone, a figure in your life, most likely feminine, but not necessarily, that can assist you in creating that space for yourself or giving you some sort of intellectual, logical guidance to help you move forward. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at your special message card. And I chose the Syrian Starseed Tarot because we have the full moon in Scorpio this week. And I just always feel like some of the, the energies from this deck are really more profound, and that Scorpio full moon could be quite profound. So let's shuffle that. And for those of you that chose the rose quartz, this one here is sticking up. So we're going to choose that one. The Two of Chalices. It looks like for those of you that chose the rose quartz, and I said rose quartz was about unconditional love, right? Not just with yourself, but with others as well. It looks like you're going to be dealing with some relationship things this week. Now, this does show a man and a woman together, kind of in an embrace, in a romantic kind of stature. This could be about romantic relationships, but I feel like also this is just telling us it could be about all relationships. The number 2 obviously is 2 people. Chalices is the cup suit, so we're dealing within the realm of emotions. So this is anyone that you could have a very deep emotional attachment to. Could be a parent, could be a child, could be a best friend, you know, someone that we have an emotional connection with. So it looks like there's going to be something that you're dealing with that is within the relationship realm, and I feel like it can, whatever it is, whatever, you know, if there's any challenges, that I feel like there's a positive outcome, because this is a very positive card. It's a card about connecting. It's a card about emotionally connecting and, you know, kind of being in that state of love, if you will, in that state of unconditional love. And, you know, there's a lot of roses and flowers around, giving us that sense of hope in the changes and transformations within our relationships that can come. All right, let's take a look at the message for those that chose the blue kyanite. And this one right away kind of sticks out to me. Blue kyanite people. 10 of orbs, all right? And the 10 of orbs is like the 10 of, swords. Yes, pretty sure. Sometimes I get confused with this deck, but this is definitely, the 10 of swords in this deck, the orbs is swords. So we're dealing with, you know, this feeling. We have a woman lying here, and she looks like she's in distress and pain and despair and whatnot. This is about releasing that. You know, the number 10 is the last of the minor arcana before we get to the court card. So we're in need of letting go and releasing, and you can see all these orbs here and all this stuff kind of floating away. We're needing to kind of clear and release that. I feel like they're saying pull the cords. So for those of you that chose the blue kyanite, maybe you actually need a piece of blue kyanite to help you clear, as it's one of those self-cleansing stones, but pull the cords. I feel like calling in Archangel Michael, pulling the cords physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, to all that you no longer need, especially doubts, fears, anxieties, those things, again, of the mental body, of the mental realm. Now, I have to say, when I went to pull this card, some of you may have noticed that a second card wanted to come out with it, and Spirit told me to pull the second card as well. I feel like that was going to give us additional information, so I went ahead and kind of pulled it aside here. And it's the seeker of orbs. And so we're needing to seek a solution. You know, we're needing to seek a solution to release ourselves from some of that lower vibrational ways of thinking or believing. And I feel like, again, this is a message of hope. Here we have a young girl here, and she's found this orb, this light, you know, and she's reaching for that light. And I feel like if you just reach for the light, you know, pull the cords, cut the cords, again, calling in angelic assistance and guidance, and then look for a better way to think, look for a better way to believe, look for a better way to view yourself or the situation that you're in. Seek the solutions to what is going on in your life and in your world, and you will find the answer, is what I'm hearing. All right, let's go ahead and pull a card now for the Labradorite people. Let's give this a little shuffle. And Labradorite people, waiting for something to kind of show itself to me, and now this one is just almost falling out. So, wow. Labradorite people, you have Major Arcana 21, which in the traditional tarot is the World. In this card, it's called Ascension. This is speaking of something coming to an end. The World card, as the last Major Arcana in the deck, talks about endings and preparing for new beginnings. And that can certainly be the case with the Scorpio full moon, as Scorpio is about death and rebirth, transformation and regeneration, like the scorpion rising from the ashes, okay? So you this week, Labradorite people, have some endings and preparing for new beginnings that are going to take place. And this is on a soul level. This isn't just something on a third dimensional level. This is a soul evolutionary thing, to where it's something very important. It could be about an old pattern coming to an end. Now, it could be something physical, like a relationship or a work situation, but it's on a soul level. There's something that's really important that your soul is learning, growing through, evolving through, understanding, so that you can graduate to the next step on your spiritual destiny path. So pay attention to what that might be as you move throughout the week. I hope you've all liked this weekly reading. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, your comments on my videos, watching the monthly as well as the weekly videos. Thank you for visiting my website, Sacred Soul Empowerment. Please continue to check on some of the new things that will be happening through there with products and services. Thank you to all those that follow me on Facebook and your wonderful support. I send you all much love and light and many, many angel blessings.